MRP and MOP.
Ever heard about MRP? Sure you must have. Ever heard of MOP? Doubtful for a few, since for buyers or consumers, most often it exists only hidden in the background. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that most people are not able to differentiate between the two. MRP stands for Maximum Retail Price and MOP for Market Operating Price. To explain these two, we must delve deeper into price of goods and services. A good is produced or manufactured by a manufacturer. The selling price of a unit of good for a manufacturer is his cost of production per unit plus his profit margin, since manufacturer seldom sells at a loss or no profit.
For example, a company ABC Limited manufactures toothbrushes. The company has spent X rupees in total in a year to produce the toothbrushes. If they manufacture 10,000 toothbrushes in a year, then their cost of production per unit per year is X divided by 10,000. So now, if they have to sell these 10,000 toothbrushes in a year while also aiming to earn a profit of let's say 10% per unit annually, then they will have to sell each toothbrush at 1.1x by 10,000. You must be wondering, who does a manufacturer sell to? It has been a long-standing tradition of market supply and distribution that manufacturers seldom sell goods directly to customers or public. They would either sell it to dealers or distributors or wholesalers who would further either sell directly to public or would again sell to retailers who would directly sell to public. Now, why does such a complicated supply chain exist in the first place? Can't manufacturers directly sell to public? Well, yes they can.
But, to make enough profits and money to keep the business running and grow, they would need to sell in large quantities. To do so, they would also have to spend immensely on building distribution networks and supply logistics and marketing. Since it was much easier and cheaper for them to just rely on their trusted distributors or dealers or wholesalers who already had those kinds of connections and strong understanding of the market and a well-established supply logistics, it made much sense to follow this traditional route of goods distribution.
When a manufacturer sells to any of the above intermediaries, he sells in bulk quantities to each intermediary, which is the opposite of the fact that if he would have sold to public directly, he would have sold only 1 or 2 per customer. If he sells in bulk, he has to lower his selling price per unit for the intermediary to be able to buy in bulk quantities. Thus, the manufacturer here has to decrease his profit margin per unit, but since he is able to sell in bulk quantities, his overall profits would be good, as compared to selling only small quantities directly to public with a high profit margin.
This intermediary would then sell these goods in bulk quantities to several other intermediaries or wholesalers at his own profit margin, and wholesaler will sell his goods in bulk quantities to several retailers at his profit margin, and finally the retailer sells these goods to the public in small or retail quantities. Thus, you can see how profit margins are funneling from manufacturer to the retailer over the entire supply chain. However, no one in this supply chain can price the goods at his own will.
The final selling price of a good to the end consumer or public is decided by the manufacturer as the maximum retail price, or MRP. The MRP is decided keeping in mind various factors like demand, cost of production, competition from other manufacturers, buying power of the end consumer, etc. This MRP is inclusive of all taxes that the manufacturer has to pay for manufacturing and distribution. We will talk about taxes a little later. Thus, no end consumer should pay anything above the MRP to the seller from whom they are buying. However, there is another price called the manufacturer's selling price. This is the price per unit the manufacturer will charge the intermediary when the latter buys goods in bulk units from him. Now, we know profit margins keep adding down the funnel in a supply distribution chain. Since the final landing price of the product in the market, at the hands of the customer, is the MRP, then it's obvious that the manufacturer's original selling price is lesser than that. You must have been to shops who offer discounts. Well, retailers offer you discounts on the MRP to encourage you to buy. Retailers cannot sell at prices above MRP. The highest they can charge is the MRP, but most often people confuse MRP with the market operating price, or MOP. MOP is the actual price per unit at which a product is made available to a retailer. That is, a retailer's cost price per unit. It is the lowest price at which a retailer can sell a product with zero profit margin and is set by the brand or the manufacturers. MOP is usually set at a minimum discount to the MRP and is fixed by the demand and supply of a product.
Now, what the retailer can do is sell at MRP or at lower than MRP. Given his choice of profit margin he wants to keep per unit of product. He has the highest profit margin when he sells at MRP, but attracts lesser customers, or vice versa if he sells at a discounted price lower than MRP. Now, given all the above, let's take a reality check of what is happening in recent years. This is the internet age, and internet has made it possible for people to sell things from anywhere to everywhere.
A lot of manufacturers today have started selling directly to public through their own websites. Through this way, they can not only increase their brand awareness but also give good prices by avoiding intermediaries.